Hello, everyone. Our next guest is Greg Dubuque. He's been running trucks for the last 4 decades, and I was a customer of his for 21 years on the brokerage side. He's taught me a lot about owning assets, aligning with the right customers, and obviously, to be in the business for 4 decades, you've got to have a profit. That's one of the most important things as an asset-based trucking company, and I get to interview him and go deep into the challenges of running assets and also staying in the game for this long. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's go. Vibes, y'all. Thank you for joining me today. Here you go. So I just wanted to, let's just start off by saying, I followed you for a long time. I've been a customer since I got into freight in 2004. You've been in the business for 4 decades as an operator since 1994. I think I was in high school at that time. And, what is the secret for being in the industry for 4 decades of owning assets?
Well, there's people say it's resiliency. That's one thing. Having a love for it is great. Just that's the biggest thing, is having a passion for this industry. I grew up in it here, Tristan. I was raised in the cab of a truck, basically. Kind of an anomaly, an anomaly of certain of sorts, because there's a lot of people in this world that are just like me, that love trucks, love trucking, love getting people's goods down the road and doing it well. Of course, having some just a bit of class to it, doing the right things. That's what creates that resiliency, that creates the sustainability to move forward and maintain yourself through the course of time here, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you started as a driver.
Yeah. Just like I say, I grew up in the cab of a truck. It's something I always wanted to do. It's funny, if I ran into to friends I went to school with in Canada, they know from the time I was in kindergarten that I wanted to drive a truck. Both my dad and stepdad were truck drivers, and it's something I love to do. So I graduated high school. I wrote my last final exam. The day I wrote that exam, I hopped in a truck and took off from Toronto, Ontario to Cleveland, Ohio, just at 18 years old. And it was going to be a 2-year plan. Then I was going to go to university, get my MBA. But of course, after 2 years, really at 18 years old, I wasn't legal to run in the US, but I was. Once I turned 21, instead of going back to school, I bought a truck of my own and became an owner. So it's been quite a ride. Of course, that put us here today, but went from being in the cab of a truck to being an owner operator, to being moved out here to Southern California when I was 25 to open up our offices here for Liberty Linehaul West. My 3 business partners at the time who I worked for gave me the opportunity with 3 weeks notice to come out here from Canada to California and start a trucking company. And that's what we did with one truck, and just grew it to what it is here today.
Wow, there's 4 owners for one truck. Were you the driver? And the other 3 were
it was 4 owners for Liberty Linehaul here.
Okay.
So yeah, I own my truck myself. I was an owner operator at least to Liberty Linehaul, but evolved from that into being a terminal manager, from that to being a partner, and then of course had ownership in the business.
Well, you mentioned going back to college for an MBA. I think for me, the best MBA is actually starting your own trucking company. You'll learn a lot more than textbook stuff. So do you regret not getting your MBA at all?
It's funny because I was sitting down with my better half and our 2 kids having this conversation just the other night, and this came up into the conversation, and I will not forget the words of Brian Taylor, who was our senior partner at Liberty Linehaul, one of the founding partners. And there was a time I was going to leave here in California and go back to school, and he said those exact words you just said, Tristan. You will never get a better education unless you plan. And of course, he made it clear that misnomer that if there's another industry you're getting into, and that, of course, he knew the answer to that. But he said, I would never get the education that I'm getting creating a business, and especially in our environment here in California. I think this actually was a test to begin with. to create an asset-based trucking company here in one of the worst business climates there are, the most challenging business climates there are here in the country, right? But yeah, I stuck it out, and I don't regret it. I've done a lot in my. I still think this is a short career as compared to others. I've been pretty lucky, but of course, it's just the fact that a passion for it has gotten me where I'm at today.
I have a confession to make. Being your customer at Diversified Transportation and Covenant Transport and Freightopia, I had no idea what it's like to to own an asset. And I was actually embarrassed to reach out to you because I remember in 2018 I went to the Ontario Truck Show and I met
Yeah.
you for the first time. I was embarrassed because I knew I wanted to start a trucking company. And it's funny that you said in California. I had no idea California was the worst place to start a trucking company. So definitely a test. And then I just, I didn't reach out to many people. I just thought I could figure it out. Um, and now I wish I did because you're right. It's a hard business. And I noticed that on, reading about you, you had joined California Trucking Association as soon as you got into Cali. How important is it to be surrounded by the people that are operators and running it, day to day and learning from them and, being from a different country, like Canada, you learned their rules and regulations. And then you come to the US and then you have a state that has different regulations than the US. So yeah, you have definitely, that's one thing that I learned. And, I'm so glad I joined California Trucking Association, but I wish I would have joined sooner and would have reached out to you sooner. So yeah, let me know how that went because I could tell you
Oh,
how it
that
went with me.
we never would have been the success, and not that, like I say, I use the word success lately, but it's every day we're still, especially. And as far as here's the built a last forever, that's our thing. It's not something that's just a on build a brand, and that brand has a level of traction to it from our drivers to our clients. But if I made that to join an association to get to know like-minded people, we wouldn't have been here today. I got so much great information that we brought to our business. First off, it's the one thing when you're surrounded by like-minded people. You show up because in this industry, you can feel like you're on an island, that you're fighting battles that everybody else is fought, that you're having dealing with issues, whether that's HR issues, whether that's equipment issues that nobody else sees. But then you get in a world where there's others that do what you do, and of course everybody does this a little bit different, right? There's their own twist to it. But when you show up there, you find out that some of the people that were my heroes, that were big names in trucking, they were at the time. You're talking like seeing that transition into '08 with the freight. That was another big freight recession hit us hard, right? With that, the people are fighting those same battles and learning what they're doing during those times. Making the great connections, you have to have great people for benefit providers. You have to have great people for insurance providers, all that kind of stuff. Meeting those right people in that circle, that's what made us what we are today.
Yeah, I mean, I could, I'm definitely, when I first went to my first CTA meeting, I had reached out to you and you helped me get into that because get into the association, and I was blown away by how seriously everyone takes trucking. It's not, and being on the brokerage space, you don't understand what it takes to run a trucking operation and the responsibilities and just being compliant to the rules and the regulations for safety. And when we were deep diving into the insurance parts and the rules and the laws and the lobbying, which was so new to me, I was blown away, and I could see how valuable that is to the business because you and I have now I became a customer and I'm working with you now. I've helped you do some cool stuff. One of them being the CMA. That was really
Yeah.
cool. Thank you for letting me help you on that. And I really have to tip my hat off to you because you know you've done some crazy things with freight. I mean, getting into the event space is a completely different ball game. Can you explain how that has changed profitability or just the strength of Liberty Linehaul by getting into a niche like that?
Well, it's all we've always played around in that world. Our first calling when we opened the business up was to be a direct delivery LTL partial truckload provider. That's what we always did. Things that were a little more complicated, that load to ride, for example, when it comes to blanket wrap, office furniture, that type of thing was more our gig. And getting pulling together shipments for appointment deliveries that some of the big LTL guys didn't want to get into. That was our calling card. That's the stuff we look for. And because of that, because we had nice equipment and had an attraction for drivers, we were able to find drivers that wanted that type of work, wanted more of a challenge, and of course had a little bit of an income because of that here, right? Well, because of that world, we always spec'd out and built our trailers to have logistic, 26-inch logistics, 12-inch logistics at times, bars and straps and trailers. So we were set up to help out in the entertainment world. And there's a lot of other, our current legacy providers in the entertainment world that we gave them trucks when they needed extra help. And it evolved from that point. But in 2020, we were given the opportunity to acquire a business, and that's all that they did. It was 2021 when things were at their height and everybody was on cloud nine. Things were going great, right? But just based on history, and I'd like to think I grew up a little bit. But you know what, this is not going to last forever. We need to really put some roots down in a different line of work, that when this all does come to a stop, because it will, that we've got something left. And that's when we grew into that world by acquiring, like I say, a local trucking company that was in that line of work. That has gone now to be 60% of what we do here today is live events. People think of course, immediately into tour trucking. We do some, just not a lot of tour trucking. It's more one-off events where we're showing up to every major award show here in LA. Pretty much has a Liberty truck, if not multiple added. Any live event you see on television that happens within the U.S., we're pretty much there with something, whether that's lighting, rigging, audio, something along those lines. But with that comes a lot of responsibility. You got to have drivers that can communicate. You got to have, of course, the high level, the insurance coverage cover it. You got to have backup plans when things go down, because there's no such thing as not being there. But we're in a line of work that you're only as good as your first job. If something goes wrong in a serious manner, the world will know. And it goes back to the old mantra: you'll never work in this town again. That's what happens here, right? So you got to be prepared to be able to extinguish some fires, make things happen. But none of that would happen without, of course, our drivers. They're the ones that really are our face on the ground and make things happen.
No, I respect that, because I remember you reaching out when we had we only had, I think, 2 or 3 guys helping on the Dallas, and I had asked you, I'm like, hey, Greg, I have a brokerage. I could go get some drivers for us that can, and you said no. You cut me off right away, and I love that, because it really shows you know your level of service excellence that you are that you've adopted. And for as long as I've known you, you've had the same employees, which is awesome. Even on the LTL side, because before I even knew you did events, you had the same people working for you, and that's a testament to your the way you run things. Tell me about that mindset, and how do you keep employees there forever?
Wow. I don't, that's a big question. That's for sure. Um, it's just working with people every day, leading by example. And like I said, I'd like to think that we do that for the most part. I was brought in this industry that you always get your hands dirty. For most days, I'm showing up here in jeans and work boots on here, right? Just of course get dressed up for certain things if you're meeting a customer or that kind of deal. But if I got to hop in a truck today, I'll do it. If I got to buckle down, you know what? We've got too much going on. We need to focus in one area. We've got 4 trucks empty in Texas. Need some help to backhaul them. Don't like that word, by the way. But at any rate, I'll jump in and start working the board. Guys, I'll take this on. You guys focus on the other stuff. That's important here, right? Just a team effort. Never ever afraid to do that. To get my hands dirty, to jump in. And my people aren't afraid of that. Our dispatch, and I'm really proud of that. We're not a big company. We've got 4 people in dispatch. 2 of them are drivers that have come out of the cab of a truck and into the office. Another one is, of course, just we do have female leadership here at Liberty West here as well. She married a truck driver after being here, one of our drivers here, right? So it's great. I love what we've created in our world where people that get it and get our way and understand the reason that we do things. It doesn't always look great from the outside, but we do things for a reason, right?
No, yeah, I mean, you're doing things right, and I'm gonna go back to you said I don't like that word backhaul.
Yeah.
What does that word mean to you?
Well, it means, and I could go into it with different perceptions on things, but it really means I'm a buyer. I'm going into a market where I've got to buy my way out of it because I don't have my own. So I'm looking for a partner to do that. A lot of people claim to be partners, and they aren't. But I'm looking for those people. And the issue is now in our world is we do scatter trucks. We're not always in the same place on the same time, and we do have to have the help of brokers to get out of there. And we've got a handful of great people that are out there that love the relationship, love to be part of it, but we can drive them just as crazy because, like I say, we could have, you're talking about Dallas, we could have 30 trucks there one week and then we're not there for 2 more weeks here, right? But then we're looking out for help again. And we know there's value to that. We know that if you're willing to help us out, we're not looking for top shelf market rates because we just need to get out of there and get trucks repositioned. But on the other hand, don't take advantage of us. And that's what's happening in this world here right now. We can't run below cost. It's just simply not. We will never live. We need to backhaul. To me is something to get us back to cover our costs to get us back where we need to be. And we're hoping to do a little more than that. But this world of where we're at here now, and especially I've been helping out in dispatch this past month or so. We've made some changes in our office, and it's just been horrible. I can't believe people can get on an offer like they claim it's an offering and then just, of course, when you work in the load board, be rude about it because they haven't worked in a world where an asset is something they need to find. It's just there's a line behind you, get out of the way. And like I say, it's not a sustainable way. I just want to put that out to any people new entering the broker world that that's not the way to do things because this market will change. It has to because right now it's failing for me. On the other side, there is a balance to this here, right? It's going to change around, and when it does, it can't be this "I'm going to get you now" scenario. We need to remain loyal to our friends. They're there for us now, and we're there for us then. When things peaked during COVID, we had so many people that were like, "Man, I'm getting just hammered on this. Can you help me out with this load?" Of course, it'd be over what we considered market at that point because we're going to jump in and help out, but we're not taking people to the cleaners. We're not saying it's going to be $12,000 to go to New York City. We're going to help out here, right? With that, just like I say, it's a different kind of mindset here right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you don't plan on adopting a "I told you so" department because that's what we have. You know, there's we have a list of the "I told you so." And we built this list up in the last 3.5 years. I'm just joking. No, it's crazy that it's so funny because I mean not funny, but you're talking about the cost of running an operation, and there is I feel being in this for 21 years now, I have never imagined that all rates would be backhaul. I don't think the other side or the buyers in this case realize the cost of running an operation or a safe operation. That is, guys like you and I, right? We have to compete with all of the truckers today and the companies and carriers, fly by night guys that are cutting corners, and they're beating us. because they're, everyone just wants the rates. At the end of the day, they all talk about that partnership, and there is really, I just feel as if like, do you think the future is about, um, you know, like when will they catch up to the costs? I mean, at what point do you think, because you've been at this for 4 decades, you understand the costs, obviously. You wouldn't be in the position that you're in today. But where do you see it going?
Well, like I say, Tristan, I challenge you to one thing that you just said there when you said that they are buyers. They are not buyers, they're sellers. We're the
Mm.
buyers because we've got the equipment. We can do what they can't because they don't have trucks, trailers, and drivers. So you have to sell it to me why I need to do this. And especially it just when it's
Mm.
something that's not market cost, everybody has to be responsible for that because we're letting this happen. We really are. We have to draw our feet in the sand and just say, no, I'm not doing this any longer here, right? But at that point to where pricing meets the cost of operation, I wish I can tell you when we're going to get there on the open market. There's little spikes here and there that you see, and of course, all the you hear about it on social media with several different outlets of there's the clouds are starting to separate. I don't see it here right now, right? I don't see that coming up until mid-year next year. Unfortunately, in our world, it is overpopulated here right now, and others that got into this that don't have that want and desire to last forever are going to have to step aside to let us. We just have to back away. I've seen some really great, and we're a small company. We're 50 trucks, and I think we're at this point. They say that if you don't have one truck, you got to have five because five will be able to facilitate one when one goes down. And it's the same thing when you get around that 40, 50 trucks. I think we're at a point where there's some real growing pains. We can do some things, but others we can't. We can't control our costs as the big guys can, and we can't compete with the real small 1, 2 truck carriers here, right? Um, but I really think that there's gonna come this point that others are pushed to the side, that capacity is going to drop, and I'm calling that we're talking mid-year next year before all of these things start happening here, right? But we have never seen a big economic pickup. I know with us in the retail world, we haven't seen the volumes hit us that we have for a few years. There was no back to school as far as the markets that we service that we usually see a spike on the freight side. We're coming up to of course the Black Friday and Christmas spikes, and I don't see anything here right now. Now most of that curtails to the cross-border Canadian market for what we do. And it's really hit hard up there with the tariffs. Our Canadian entities just are struggling hard, and we're seeing like a 30% decrease in volumes here that way, right? But I've seen going back to it, I've seen some really good operators scale up and scale down in this world. There's a flatbed carrier that I envy here that just they're no longer, they've sold out to a larger entity, but L.A. Dalton, Lacey Dalton was their name, and I've seen that little business go from 60 trucks down to 10. He just knew the right time to flex up, flex down, and do the right things here, right? It's not about size, it's about profitability when things are said and done. It's not how many trucks you own, it's how many can you operate and get through this here and do the right things, that you hang on to drivers. That's a big thing, and hang on to the right drivers. That you're taking care of your equipment. That's just what it takes to make something last.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I always struggle with, these assets is I've done that, scale up or scale down according to what the market looks like. Have you ever seen a market look like this in the last 40 years?
No, I claim I really got my education with the freight downturn in 2008, but it fell so hard that it felt, I can remember the day I walked into our little dispatch office and I'm like, what just happened? Well, like, it's like everything shut off. But I learned then, because at that point we had a lot of friends in the broker world that were our clients, but when things changed so hard, they couldn't compete. That, you know what, we've got to segue into having some direct accounts, and we need to own those relationships here, right? So that's what we worked hard on that next 4 years, and finally 2012 it came back around. But to the point of this, I've never been through this market, and I have talked to a lot of people that have been doing this even longer than I have, that said they've never felt this amount of pain for this long period of time. It's just like we're going in the better part now. We're going into year number 4 here soon of seeing that downturn, and it's got to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's wow. It hurts so much to be in this situation, and everyone I'm talking to is, that operates trucks, whether that's 100 trucks or one. We all have the same story. How
Yeah.
long can we hang on for? And what, like, for me, there's only I've come up with 3 levers for myself, and I'm sure that's the same for a lot. Like, we can run more miles, we can cut costs, right? Or we can just get out of the freight industry. Those are the only 3 ways to make money. When will you walk away? Like, when do you know it's time to walk away?
Um, I know, once again, it catch me at a bad time, because on Friday we just had word from a 14-year client that had their RFPO, that I had to go in because we went through the challenges of COVID with them, a large retailer, that when things peaked, we didn't. We maintained our loyalty to them. And that took us through to this point where we're at now. But 3 years ago, that they were viciously at us that we have to get rate reductions. We play ball to a certain degree. We know what our costs are. You have to go into this knowing what your costs are. And my costs do not look pretty. Compared to others being here in California, we're at the size we have to have a property that facilitates our trucks and trailers. We have our own mechanics on staff to try, and it helps our R&M to a certain degree, but costs aren't clean when you're doing all of this yourself in house here, right? So we have big fluctuations, but we know what our costs are going into this, and you have to know what it costs to run a truck and trailer down. We do a great job with insurance. A lot of the things we were able to do to try to reduce our pricing to this client, but they are now to the point, after so long seeing so many people from the outside, and I had to go into a 6.6% increase. We had to just to try to keep a dime for every dollar we make around here. That's what my job is at the end of the day. Just hold on to a dime for every dollar. And right now in this world, that makes trucking look pretty good if you can do that. They wouldn't play ball with us, and they did tell us that after 14 years, they've got to go a different direction, and really thought that we would say something at that point. I couldn't say anything but goodbye. That was
Wow.
it with that, right? It's just,
Wow.
you have to know when to draw the line in the sand, and it's going to hurt. It is. There's some other things that we're looking at here that way, but we haven't grown our fleet. We can't. There is no growth in this market. There is no, okay, we're going to add 4 trucks. No, it's not the time for us to do that at all.
Yeah, it's all about like the utilization of those 50 trucks that you have. But wow, that is just I'm kind of speechless to, walking away because the cost doesn't make sense. And you're talking about 10 cents to a dollar, which is 10%. And you have like Costco that nationally advertises that they put a 10 to 14% margin, and they're okay. We love going and supporting them, and they require that their suppliers, or the things that we buy, also go on thin margins. I'm like, how thin can we go, right? Like, people don't understand 10%. We're not writing off with that money into the sunset with all bags of money. We need that for breakdowns for tomorrow,
Yeah.
unexpected costs, mistakes that our drivers make. Like, there's so much to that 10%. It's not like we're buying mansions with that 10%. And at 50 trucks, it'd be hard to do that. Um, so I was just thinking about that with as far as costs, right? Like I was looking at insurance, and I was talking to someone actually at California Trucking Association. I won't say who, but they had a 50% increase in insurance premiums last year, and they were looking at 30% this year. That's insane. And we how do we explain that to a shipper like what you just did? I mean, 14 years. How did you go in there? Did you show a whole your profit and loss statement? How did you break down the cost for that customer to have some sort of empathy of how they think they're going to get a better carrier at that price? It's insane. I don't get it.
The sad part is, I really believe that they feel that they're not. They're just willing to risk quality for the unknown, and that's the thing. The unknown can go for a while. I know when I go to bed at night, I want to go to sleep knowing that if anything does happen, we're covered, and we're covering our customers as well. That there is enough cushion between us and our client to protect them going into it, right? Because the exposure anymore, it's just like you say, there comes a point it's just not worth it. One little thing happens on the interstate, especially here in California. Mistakes do happen as far as that goes, right? We've won all kinds of safety awards for our performance out on the roadways, and I'm big on it because I drive a truck myself. That's a whole other conversation here that way where when it comes to technology and in today's trucks versus what actually happens, you still have to have old school ways going up and down the road to keep your distance, be alert, just all of that, right? But the exposure is so great, and going to this client as well, we're lucky enough to be part of a captive, and it's because of the performance of our business here, right? As well, our Canadian roots, we're in a captive of 50 of some of the best managed Canadian trucking companies there is. But at that, we do that part real well. Just others don't, and I think there's a lot of people that we run down the road with that are either one insurance renewal, one contract loss, or one accident short of closing up. That once one of those three things happen, their doors are closed here, right?
Yeah, I used to say we were one accident away from going out of business. I think now it's one breakdown. And then I think I could even say confidently, you're like one day away from going out of business because you didn't pick up a load or something happened or one mistake. It's insane that's what it's come down to. And I don't, I can't even imagine as a shipper, because as a broker, I'm thinking, man, I talk to operators every single day. And these are the operators that I want to
Yeah.
be by me to help me service my customers. And I always think about all the other guys that we're competing with out there, and they suck, dude. I'm going to say it right now. Like I get to see that on the brokerage side, and I'm scared for the capacity of the future because I know now what I didn't know by owning these assets. And like you were saying, the cost isn't bearable. It is, it is so tough. And I don't even, you know, it's, it's crazy because you've been doing this for so long and you're still having the same problems. And I'm only at year 7, about to go on my 8th. And I'm like, do I really want to sign up for this for another 32 years? And if I don't want to sign up, I can't imagine someone wanting to. So, I mean, how do you see the capacity of the future? Like, where do you see us 5 years from now? If you were to just walk away from all of this and say, forget it, I'm done. I can't handle the cost anymore. What do you see the capacity for the future?
Well, it's scary because the big are getting bigger, and with that comes the impersonal the personal side of handling it. If you're a small business, you're a small shipper or a small broker trying to develop relationships. Now, that is so much harder to develop a relationship with the big guys here that way, right? So there's no separation between large and small. The medium-sized guys like us are the ones that are flexible, that we're the ones that, and we're actually the ones that maintain the bulk of goods movement in this country. That's the part people don't think. When that side dies, that middle market capacity's wiped out. The large carrier is only 5% of what gets moved in this country here, right? So it's I'm worried for the future. I think we're in this big bridge. People, you talk about autonomous trucking, you talk about all this new technology coming our way, but we're still in this, I feel, a decade gap before we even start into that world here with it. And that's really gonna separate the men from the boys here that way when it comes to who's going to live through this period of time. Um, it's just when it comes to the future, I can never see myself, you're putting me in a position where I can never see myself walking away from this industry. When I think about what I do for my next steps, when I think of retirement, I want to buy a truck on my own and just do things what I want to do on my own terms here, right? For those that really appreciate that level of personal service, I think that's what I'll do. And of course, like I say, my wife doesn't want to hear that. I can tell you that much. But it's what I love here that way. But this industry is going to evolve into something different. I've seen, of course, I heard stories. My dad went through the evolution of the gasoline powered engine in a Class 8 tractor trailer to a diesel. And my grandfather was telling him, well, that's not going to fly. But it did. And we're going from an evolution from diesel to electric. We're going from an evolution to technology to possibly autonomous in the big picture here, right? There's going to be a lot of changes, and this industry will constantly evolve, but you still have to maintain of course what your core concerns are with this industry here, right? Like our core beliefs here are we hire great people and people that love this industry. I don't want to be in a world or in an office where a driver walks up to a window and doesn't feel like he's walking into family. That's what we do here, right? It's doesn't matter what happens with technology, you still got to have that desire to maintain that for your people here, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel the same way. There's got to be some humans behind all of this technology at the end of the day, or just even a conversation like what we're having. And I got to visit you at your terminal, and I was jealous of all those awards, just like the ones behind you. You did that on purpose, huh? Again. No, I'm just kidding. So going back to autonomous and AI, I think about what how would that look like for you, because I've never driven a truck, right?
Yeah.
I've just owned it. But do you ever see us going that route? I mean, on the customer service side, I think AI and all these calls, like AI bots, Lloyd has been telling me about it, and Blake, and then even on my brokerage side, Rod saying, man, everyone's got this new AI thing, that's how they communicate. What do you think about all that? Are you is that something that you guys are going to adopt at Liberty in the future? Is that in I guess, is that on the list to do or a list to adopt?
We're looking at it for small things, right? You send a request in for a POD, it's read and generates and sends it back here that way, right? Small things like that. Just our big thing is there's two different levels of customers. There's and two different levels of carriers as well. If you're the big guys, you're constantly hauling things you don't know for people you don't know. We don't want to be that way. We want to, our world, we want to be able to haul things that are important for people that care as well, because we do too. So that's where the mix comes in. If you don't care, then we're probably not the carrier for you when it's said and done at the end of the day. But when it comes to AI, yeah, we're looking into it. Our of course the entity that acquired us in March of 2022 is a larger motor carrier. I think we ranked 15th in largest carrier in Canada. And we're
Wow.
part of that group. So we're a small company that has the ability to be part of this growth when it does happen here, right? There's a place for it, but it's not in everything we do. This is not going to be this isn't an industry that can be led with that. Trucking is people. And I go crazy when I call the big brokers and I'm sitting there helping the guys out. And it's this AI that pretends to be this college kid and I know what this call is now. I just, when I first heard that, I was like, oh, thinking I'm having this conversation and it's not. And then I get frustrated. Now it's somebody I don't even want to call now, right? With that, just, you got to be able to have live people on the phone to develop relationships with, I feel, or on the other end of the computer with emails, one or the other here, right?
Yeah, I mean that's just a crazy thought. To just be the vending machine. If that's the way we're going, I mean, I welcome autonomous trucks, so I could just do something else. Let's just go on a vending machine and get and order trucks on the vending machine, right? Like and not have a Greg drive it or an awesome driver that's gonna, strap your logistics trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's tough. Like I always think about that. Okay, you have autonomous. Okay, we get in there. How does that work? Because it's easy to do it from behind the desk. Like I get where I could see myself as a broker and not realizing all of the work it takes to handle the day-to-day truck operations, like moving the fifth wheel, moving your tandems, and the weight distribution, and then strapping it. And I'm like, okay, how is this possible? How is an autonomous going to be able to do this at large scale, where you could completely take the human out? And I really hate that everyone wants to take the human out, because I feel like there's a lot of things that you have to do in owning trucks that are that you're sending out a message that we don't really need this. Everything can go autonomous. So have you even started with your autonomous journey where you get an electric truck just to see how it is, and to see how, is that something that's on your list to buy an electric truck?
For electric, it is that's an evolution that we're going to see, and for our local fleet, it has a place as long as we can get power to our facility, because that's where we stand. We don't think that right now Edison's telling us if you can't get the power, what's the point here? You're that way, right? But we of course we run some CNG vehicles here. Just we wanted to you got to be open minded as well to be able to embrace the technology that works. I'd rather others try it out and we learn from their failures first. We're too small to be a guinea pig, because when that loss happens, and we know that when we started to get into DPFs and after treatment systems in '06, because we've always wanted to be on the cutting edge, we ran out, and I think we were the one of the first buyers of that type of equipment. We had so many failures that cost us so much money. Doesn't matter if it's under warranty. It doesn't matter if the truck's still down, the driver's still down. You got to put people in rooms. You got to have them sit and wait. You're working with the shop, seeing how quickly they can get things going. But of course, trucks never seem to break down at 10:30 on a Monday morning after the load's off the truck. It happens at 8 o'clock on Friday night here, right? And just like I say, there's a whole human element to that if you're in this industry, you have to understand or at least have a sympathy for. It's just we will get into that when it comes to electric trucks, but that'll be local. I think in the long term, you have to. Cummins Engine Company that created the diesel engine plans to be out of diesel engine manufacturing by 2050. They're putting their money into hydrogen, electric, and hybrids here, right? That's going to be the world moves, and we're going to see that evolution here. So it will happen. So we have to embrace it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm starting to realize that, but it's so expensive for a small carrier. I mean, I can't imagine adopting it 100% without the infrastructure. But being in California, we get to see these things play out faster. It's almost it's forced onto us as an operator to adopt these new technology. So, I mean, let's if you were to do if if you were to build a trucking company today, if you started, because you have so much pride. I love that you have such this operation and driver's pride and trucking pride. You if you were to build a trucking company today for those who want to build a trucking company, what how would you do it?
First off, I'd have a customer that's going to be my partner going into it here,
Not a
right?
broker?
I'm just
A
not
bro-
going to put it, no, not going to go down that road again. That's for sure. If there's a mistake that I learned, it's that you have to have them. You have to have great friends that help you out when you need to get a truck out or get a truck back or reposition. Of course, have those relationships in place before you get that truck out on the road. It's this whole taking a risk and I'm going to buy a truck and a trailer and ride the open market. That just can't, that's a non-existent business model here, right? Here that way. And that's what's got us into the position we're at. So I'd have a customer. I'd have, like I say, I wouldn't go in with one truck. I'd go in with five. It's either one or five. And those other four would have some pretty great drivers that I know can handle a truck and and eliminate my risk of not eliminate because you're never going to eliminate it, but my exposure to the point I can sleep at night that they can handle a truck and a trailer going down the road here, right? That just with that. So that's what I would look for. So those components would be the first ones to start a viable trucking company in this day and age.
Wow. I don't think I'd ever start one. Again, um, I want to get into tech, the AI, the
Yeah.
autonomous. I'm just kidding. No, it's so cool to hear your story. I mean, 40 years and still going at it. Like, what's the end look like for you?
I really don't know right now because it feels like we just are constantly every 5 or 6 years reinventing ourselves to get to that next level. I really don't know right now, Tristan. I would like to think I've this industry I've been blessed with it. So many of like my closest friends are in this world with me and understand it and get it it's just like I say something I love when it comes to the end. Like I say, I can see myself buying a truck of my own and just running that truck down the road just myself when I want to on my terms. And just I like to think I'm going to retire from Liberty Linehaul. It's next year. It's going to be 30 years with this business and watching it evolve and grow into what it is now. Of course, going through an acquisition that was definitely something else that was a lot of lessons learned here, right? If you're going to be in this business, you have to also run your business like you're going to sell it for the success of yourself. You can't. That's a key thing I think in this world that people don't look at it in that paradigm here, right? So that's another big tree to go forward, but. I don't know. I just can't tell you what that looks like at for the end game here, Tristan. You're that way. It's just this constant evolution into trying to be better, trying to improve always here, right?
Yeah, I mean, with you talk about acquisitions, right, or partnerships that Liberty has recently, experienced. I would think that, I mean, if I were in your position, I'd take the money and run, but you would just take the money and buy another truck, which is
But that's
it's
just
in
where I'm at. Is
yeah, which is it's awesome to have operators like that. And I wish that, I think that was one of the messages that we had talked offline. Like if everyone thought about it in a way where they were prideful in what they did, because that's the legacy you're leaving behind. And I love that you had said, even if you were to stop what you're doing and being an operator of a business, you would still get in the truck. What does that legacy look like to you? I mean, you've done a lot. How important is that legacy to the people that you leave in Liberty Line Hall if you were supposed to leave? Like what kind of legacy would you want to have?
no, that's very important. I can tell you what I've been blessed. I've had a lot of great young drivers that are new to the industry, maybe not young in age, but young to this industry that we've given a chance on, and that they've been surrounded with some really good operators that we have driving our trucks that's made them successful and taken it to the next level. Guys that have gone out and bought their own trucks and started their own businesses that we work with to this day here, right? I've just that is if there's something that I'm proud of for myself, it's being able to develop that next level that have the old school mentality. And I never thought there'd be a time I'd be saying that here, right? Because I had a lot of old guys looking out for me, just to get me where I'm at today, and just to be able to say I was able to offer that to others, and that they've created a great career in trucking. That's my legacy. That is, if you say, if there's something to write off in the sunset with, it's knowing that there's a handful of people out there that have made their way in this world and really enjoy their career, the choice that they made. Some of them made investments to buy their own trucks and trailers, that they've gotten that because we were able to give them a step up in the right direction.
Wow, you are the definition of giving back. And I know a lot of these successful entrepreneurs I know are always giving back. I think that's why you gave 2 years of your time being the president of California Trucking Association. How is that is awesome that you did that. Just giving back to a community. And I want to thank you for that. And thank you for helping me out, because I want to end this. And, you know, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you've got a business to run, but if you can leave with one thing, where do you want to see the future of freight?
We need it to be sustainable. Right now, at this moment in time, it has to be sustainable. It has to make sense, and it doesn't. So I want people to start making sense of this world that we're in on both sides, whether that's you're a shipper, a broker that's responsible for making the right decisions for your customer, or a carrier. Dude, it has to make sense. And right now, it doesn't. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 here right now. And we've got to get back to that. So that's the biggest message I want to send, because you're not making the right decision. You know it at the end of the day. You can, and it doesn't matter of what the boards are telling you, whether it's market rates, whatever it is, you know when you're making a right or wrong decision. And then we need to start looking at the future and making the path, making the right decisions to go forward here, right?
I came up with a rap song. It's called "If It Don't Make Sense, It Don't Make Dollars. If it don't make dollars, it won't deliver."
That's right. There you go.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed learning from you. I'm sure we're gonna, be talking more about how to run an operations, because I need a bunch of experienced guys around me to get through all of this. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you being on the show today.
You got it, Tristan.